Hello and welcome our beloved viewers to RTD's News English edition. As usual, we begin tonight's news with the top highlights. The head of state takes part in the ceremony of investiture of the Ethiopian Prime Minister, Djibouti, Ethiopia. And on the international scene in Libya, hundreds of migrants rescued off the Libyan coast. Those were the top highlights for tonight. Welcome back to our newsroom, our beloved viewers. The Ethiopian capital, Addis Ababa, welcomed today many heads of state and government from African and other countries for the ceremony of the inauguration of the Ethiopian Prime Minister Dr. Abiy Ahmed Ali. President Gelle invited as one of the guests of honor to this great ceremony organized for the occasion several other hundred heads of state and government from the region and the continent, as well as important personalities heading international and multilateral organizations took part in the inauguration ceremony of the Ethiopian Prime Minister. President Gelle's participation in the inauguration of Mr. Abiy Ahmed show the full extent of our country's commitment to honoring at the highest level the major events in Ethiopia, our main commercial and economic partner. It is also a perfect illustration of the cordial relations and total governance of views between the two leaders at the top of our two nations, which have made for over 2 decades the choice of an economic community of destiny. Djibouti and Ethiopia are today, at the continental level, a successful tandem and a model of success in terms of cooperation and economic integration. In addition to his participation in the inauguration ceremony of Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, the head of state will meet as usual with the highest Ethiopian political leaders, bilateral relations, and the progress of a strategic partnership between the two countries in almost all key areas of development will certainly be discussed during the Djibouti President's talk with the main Ethiopian authorities. No doubt these talks will also be extended to a series of other issues, notably regional and continental, of common interest to both countries. The inauguration of the Ethiopian Prime Minister comes at the end of an electoral process, notably the legislative election held in this friendly country last June, which were won by a very large majority by the political party, the Prosperity Party, led by Dr. Abiy Ahmed. The President of the Republic, His Excellency Mr. Ismail Omar Gelle, made a speech during the ceremony of the inauguration of the Ethiopian Prime Minister Dr. Abiy Ahmed. His Excellency conveyed a message of hope and encouragement to his counterpart. Let's listen to the head of the government.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Excellencies, Sahle-Work Zewde, President of Ethiopia, Dr. Abiy Ahmed, Prime Minister of Ethiopia, Excellencies, heads of states and governments, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. It gives me pleasure to be here today to witness more the enduring democratic process in our brotherly country of Ethiopia. It is also an honor for me to convey my best heartfelt congratulations to His Excellency Abiy Ahmed on this auspicious occasion. Mr. Prime Minister, I stand before you today to bring you a message of hope and encouragement on my own behalf and on behalf of my people. We also bring to you and to the people of Ethiopia the well wishes and support of the Djiboutian people. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, with a proud history dating back to the Abyssinian empires, Ethiopia has taken the lead on many Pan-African issues, whether as the first African country member of the League of the Nations in the late 1920s, or as the birthplace of the Organization of African Unity, now known as the African Union. More recently, Ethiopia has also charted an unprecedented path of growth and development that has served as a locomotive for the entire continent as a whole, but more importantly, for our region. As we all know, throughout this long and glorious history, Ethiopia has gone through many defining moments and has always come out stronger. It has belied the dogmas of those who condemned her to ruin. It has always remained united in the face of a struggle. Today, more than ever before, we hope to see an Ethiopian nation that is at peace with itself, a nation that forgives all of our sons and daughters and collectively builds on the achievements of yesterday to reach an even higher ground. How fragile peace is in our region. And on our continent, we have all, at some point in our history, stared into the abyss of collective destructions, but we have always managed to hold on to what brings us together and let go what divides us. We have fought long and hard for all our achievements, and nowhere is that statement more true than in Ethiopia, where for centuries a myriad of cultures have coexisted and built this great nation. You absolutely must protect those hard-earned gains. Indeed, as a nation steeped in its long history of cultural and religious diversity, rich of centuries of successful development and progress, we remain certain that the Ethiopian nation is bigger and stronger than whatever ails her. Ethiopia always gets back stronger despite everything, and we are counting on her to do so. We remain certain that Ethiopia will emerge victorious and will be reconciled with herself and with all her children. We pledged our full support to you and your people on this next journey. እንኳን ለአዲሱ ዓመት አደረሳችሁ። እንኳን ለኢሬቻ በዓል አደረሳችሁ። ኢትዮጵያ ለዘላለም ትኑር።
The ambassador of the Republic of Djibouti to the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia and permanent representative of our country to the African Union, His Excellency Mr. Abdi Mahmoud, made this statement on Monday morning as he was making the final preparations for the warm welcome reserved for the President of the Republic, His Excellency Mr. Ismail Omar Guelleh, participating later that day in the inauguration ceremony of Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed. The fruitful ties between our country and Ethiopia are commensurate with the strategic and complementary partnerships they have maintained for 2 decades in all sectors of sustainable development, said the Djiboutian diplomat. Djibouti and Ethiopia is today a model of success in economic integration, he said in the same vein. Today's event will also serve as a platform for the announcement of the members of parliament resulting from the last Ethiopian parliamentary elections won by the political party, the Prosperity Party of Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, he added. Under the aegis and the clear-sighted leadership of its first magistrate, His Excellency Mr. Ismail Omar Guelleh, our country will not cease to work to strengthen the relations of friendship, brotherhood, solidarity, and economic complementary between the two sister nations. Ambassador Abdi Mahmoud also noted wishing a good stay in Addis Ababa to the head of state and all the members of the delegation accompanying him as part of his participation in the inauguration of the Ethiopian Prime Minister. Moving on, the Minister of Defense in charge of relations with the Parliament, Mr. Hassan Umar Mohammed, received today, October 3rd, 2021, the working visit of the Director of Africa of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of France, Mr. Christopher, accompanied by the Ambassador of France to the Republic of Djibouti, Mr. Arnaud Guillou, of the Military Attaché of the Embassy of France in Djibouti, Colonel Hugo de Rocamole. On the Djiboutian side, the presence of Colonel Mustafa, a military advisor to the President of the Republic, the Chief of Staff Commander Ilyas Abdullahi Guelleh, and the technical advisor, Mr. Eltere Ibrahim Farah. During this meeting, Mr. Christopher reviewed with the Minister of Defense several bilateral and regional issues of common interest, including bilateral relations between the Republic of Djibouti and France. The Minister and the Director welcomed the strong and historical ties of friendship and cooperation between the two countries, reiterating their determination to work to consolidate the workshop and to work together. Further, on this occasion, Mr. Christophe expressed his optimism for the exceptional relations between the two countries. For his part, the Minister also emphasized his full availability to contribute to raising the level of exchange of experience and expertise between the two countries in various strategic sectors. Also during this meeting, the Minister and his host discussed together the security situation in the Horn of Africa. Djibouti opened its pavilion on October 1st, 2021 in Dubai. In the presence of His Excellency the Ambassador of Djibouti to the United Arab Emirates, Mr. Musa Mohammed Ahmed, the Director General of the National Tourism Agency and Commissioner General of the country for the Expo 2020, Mr. Usman Abdi Mohammed, and his Deputy Commissioner for the Expo, Mr. Abubakar Hassan Bari. During the 6 months of the Expo, this national pavilion located in the Mobility District and covering an area of 213 meters will be the national showcase to promote our countries in strategic partnerships and development sectors such as its port and logistics infrastructure with its strategic position, its telecommunications sector, its tourism assets, and its rich diversified culture. This great international event, which expects to welcome more than 25 million visitors, will be an opportunity for our country to establish business partnerships for the economic development of our country. This expo is the first World Expo to be held in the Middle East, Africa, and South Asia region. Let's remember that more than 192 countries will be present in the World Expo with the slogan, Connecting Minds, Creating the Future. Initiated by the Ministry of Health, the anti-COVID-19 vaccination campaign at the central administration level is still going on. Indeed, the mobile vaccination team went to the Ministry of Environment, the Secretary of State for Decentralization, and the Ministry of Women's Affairs, where state agents responded massively to be vaccinated. The Minister of Health, Dr. Ahmed Roble, as well as the Ministers of Women and Family, Mrs. Muna Usman, and the Secretary of State for Decentralization, Mr. Qasim Haroun, were present to encourage the agents and their collaborators for the vaccination against COVID-19. More than 100 agents were thus able to be vaccinated at their workplace in order to ensure their health protection and to guarantee the safety of users and public services. As we are following the images of the agents that took the vaccination. Moving on, the Minister of Social Affairs and Solidarity, Mrs. Ulufa Ismail Abdo, received in courtesy visit the Ambassador of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia to the Republic of Djibouti, His Excellency Abdul Aziz bin Abdullah Al Matar, this Sunday, October 3rd in the morning. The Minister, surrounded by his close collaborators, welcomed the Ambassador of the custodian of the two holy mosques to Djibouti. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is a key partner for Djibouti in terms of economic and social development. At the end of this courtesy visit, the two leaders pledged to work together in strengthening their cooperation in social matters, including actions and programs to reduce poverty, but also to empower vulnerable populations. At the invitation of her counterpart, the Saudi Minister of Culture, the Minister of Youth and Culture, Her Excellency Dr. Hibo Mu'min Al-Sawi, accompanied by the resident ambassador of Djibouti to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, His Excellency Mr. Radiadin Bamakrama, and the Minister's technical advisor, Mr. Ahmad Muhammad Ibrahim, participated yesterday in the official launching ceremony of the Riyadh International Book Fair. This annual fair forum is an unmissable event for reading enthusiasts. It is one of the most important in the Arabian Peninsula in terms of visitors, sales and cultural programs. The most important local, regional, and international publishing housing meet there every year. On the sidelines of the fair, the minister met with the Secretary General of the Abdul Aziz Center, Dr. Fahad bin Abdullah bin Abdul Aziz, to discuss ways and means of establishing the framework for a partnership project between the Ban of Djibouti and the Abdul Aziz Cultural Center. The Sheraton Hotel hosted this morning a first meeting of the Joint Field Committee between the Djiboutian Ministry of Interior and the Saudi Ministry of Interior. The meeting was chaired by the Secretary General of the Ministry of Interior, Mr. Siraj Umar Abdul Qadir. The meeting was attended by officers of the Djiboutian Armed Forces, namely the Gendarmerie, the Police, the Coast Guard, and the ADF. The objective of this meeting is to discuss and adopt a final report on the field visit on illegal cross-border immigration. Illegal immigration and the pursuit of human beings are a global phenomenon that poses a humanitarian, economic, and security challenge all over the world, and it requires close cooperation and concerted efforts on the part of the authorities concerned to remediate. The Secretary General of the Ministry of Interior, Mr. Siraj Umar Abdul Qadir, stressed that this meeting is of utmost importance in the fight against illegal immigration. Moving on, the Ministry of Environment and Sustainable Development, His Excellency Mr. Mohammed Abdul Qadir Musa, received in his office Mrs. Jo Mishpal, Ambassador of the United Kingdom to Djibouti, and Mrs. Jane Baxter, First Secretary of the British Embassy. The Ambassador of the United Kingdom and the Minister of Environment discussed the environment in Djibouti as well as the preparation of the 26th Conference of the Parties to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, COP26, which will take place from 31 October to 12 November 2021 in Glasgow. The Minister informed the Ambassador that Djibouti is among the countries most vulnerable to climate change, including drought and floods. The Minister also stressed that Djibouti has a significant potential in renewable energy, including solar, wind, and geothermal. Finally, the Minister of Environment and Sustainable Development wished the strengthening of cooperation between Djibouti and the United Kingdom in the field of sustainable environmental development. The Minister Delegate in charge of decentralization, His Excellency Mr. Qasim Haroun, welcomed this Monday, October 4, 2021, in his honorary room, the Chargé d'Affaires of the Kingdom of Morocco in Djibouti, Mr. Mbarak Ahadoui. The Chargé d'Affaires began by congratulating his host for his frontal welcome and said he was pleased with the appointment of His Excellency Mr. Qasim to head this great department with noble missions. Then he went on to mention the historical link between the two parties since independence and even beyond. The Chargé evoked the complicity of the two countries since the time of the late Hassan II until today. Mr. Qasim Haroun thanked the Chargé d'Affaires for the wish. He also mentioned the age-old ties of friendship that bind the two countries and pleaded for the consolidation of this link towards a reasonable partnership between the two parties. The two parties discussed at the length the consideration of the reinforcement of this link by a memorandum of understanding between the Minister in charge of decentralization and the Ministry of Interior, General Directorate of Technical Qualities of the Kingdom of Morocco. This memorandum of understanding would aim, among other things, to create a framework conducive to the development of decentralized cooperation action by establishing lasting and sustainable relations for the benefit of the local authorities of both parties based on the notion of mutual interest, exchange of experience, knowledge, and know-how, and the enhancement of the skills and specificities of each of the signatories. A signing ceremony of money transfer agreement between Djibouti and Turkey was held yesterday under the chairmanship of the Secretary General of the Ministry of Communication, Mr. Ahmed Yusuf. The ceremony was attended by the Director of Djibouti Post, Mr. Bahnan Ali Medal, and the representative of the Turkish company UPT, who signed the agreement between the two parties. Thanks to this agreement, the money transfer will be more efficient and fast between Djibouti and Turkey. The economic operators as well as the Djiboutian students will fully benefit from this conversion. The director of the Djibouti Post Office, Mr. Bahnan, and the representative of the Turkish company, UPT, were pleased with this partnership, which will further strengthen the relations between the two countries, especially through money transfer. Following the example of the rest of the country, the Oboch educational community mobilized on October 2nd, 2021 for the first Citizens' Day of the 2021-2022 school year, initiated by the Ministry of National Education and Vocational Training, Mr. Mustafa Mohammed Mahmoud, whose theme this year is My School to Me. This day devoted to the realization of actions of general interest such as garbage collection, cleaning, tree planting, repair school materials and equipment took place in all schools of the capital, namely the schools of Oboch 1 and 2, but also the college, the general high school, and the technical high school. On this occasion, the whole educational community, namely teachers, headmasters, members of the partners associations, were mobilized to carry out various activities related to the preservation of the environment and the beautification of school infrastructure. The Oboch men and women who demonstrated their patriotism did not spare their efforts to make their school clean and attractive. Indeed, as in other regions in the capital of our country, the first Citizens' Day of the school year 2021-2022 was organized in all the schools in the region of Tajurra. This day, established within the framework of the project My School to Me, has mobilized the educational community, parents, teachers, students, and the team of pedagogical supervision of the region of Tajurra. The representatives of the regional council and members of active associations in the Tajurra region also took an active part in this day. The participants were able to carry out during this day various activities relating to the preservation of the environment, the beautification of the school space, the prevention of COVID-19, and also activities dedicated to the appropriation of national and citizen values. MENFOP has provided the school with the material means necessary for the good organization of this Citizenship Day. We have the immense pain to share the death of the late Hamad Obakar Mohammed, which occurred yesterday in Djibouti. The deceased Hamad Obakar was a great personality who was highly respected in all the national communities. Born in 1940 in As'ala region of Dakhil, the late Hamad leaves a large family behind him, including 17 children and 40 grandchildren. The death of the late Hamad leaves a great void, and his death is announced to his large family living in the Republic of Djibouti, especially in the region of Dakhil and in Ethiopia. We offer our condolences to all his family and pray to God to welcome him in his eternal paradise. Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Shifting gears towards the international scene now, hundreds of migrants have been rescued off the Libyan coast in the two separate operations. The United Nations High Commissioner of Refugees, UNHCR, said Sunday in one of the operations around 500 people disembarked at the Zawiya refugee point after being intercepted at sea on a wooden boat this morning. In the other operation, the agency added 56 people, including 3 children, were rescued after the engine of the rubber boat broke down at sea. By this, our beloved viewers, we conclude tonight's news edition. Thank you for joining us, and make sure to tune in later for more. Have a wonderful evening, and thank you again.